What's going on, guys? It's Jimmy here. Welcome to our daily show where we discuss everything you need to know about and what's going on here in our country on a daily basis, including money, investing, the stock market, the fourth stimulus package update, and a stimulus check update. If you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel yet, make sure to click the subscribe button down below. It's completely free to do so. New videos come out here every day at 10 a.m., 3 p.m., and 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And also, thanks for hitting the like button for us down below. We just had a senator introduce a fourth stimulus check bill officially here in the Senate. I'm going to let you hear directly from him on the Senate floor. It is Senator Jack Reed from Rhode Island. This is because of the price of gas and the price of food, which are both at record highs here in the US and around the world. If you've been watching my channel, you know that this is affecting the entire world. Food prices and gas prices both at record highs in the US and around the world as well. And he has just introduced a fourth stimulus check bill officially in the Senate. He's a Democrat. We actually had a proposal for a fourth stimulus check from a Republican for $1,000 here recently. I showed you that here. So what's interesting is we're seeing this kind of come from both parties. So this is actually very good news because we have both Republicans and Democrats saying that Americans need more help. So I'll let you hear it directly from him. Then we'll talk about it, and I'll give you guys a little bit more detail. So here he is right on the Senate floor, Senator Jack Reed, a Democrat from Rhode Island. It's a few minutes in. He's going to tell you about the gas companies and what they're doing right now to gouge the Americans. It's crazy. Check this out.
Madam President, soaring fuel prices are impacting every corner of the globe and hitting the pocketbooks of American families and businesses. Today, a gallon of gas costs $4.52, nearly $1.50 more than a year ago. From food to clothing to rent, growing transportation expenses are pushing already rising prices even higher. Yet while the American people are taking a hit, while the local mom and pop stores pay more for energy and goods, big oil companies are announcing giant profits. They have hit the jackpot. Over the first 3 months of the year, ExxonMobil reported $5.5 billion in profits. Chevron recorded $6.3 billion, and Shell raked in $9.1 billion, its largest quarterly profit ever. In just 3 months, these three companies made nearly $21 billion in profit. Now, robust profits are usually a signal for companies to invest in capital and labor and build a foundation for future growth. But big oil has different priorities. Rather than increasing business investment or production, these companies have almost uniformly pumped profits directly to their executives and wealthy shareholders. In February, even before the Russian invasion of Ukraine sent gas prices skyrocketing, the Financial Times reported that 7 of the largest oil companies, including Exxon, Chevron, BP, and Shell, were expected to return $38 billion to shareholders through buybacks this year, plus another $50 billion in dividends. Big oil hasn't hidden its strategy: hold back production and rake in profits. In a March 2022 survey, the Federal Reserve Bank of Dallas asked oil executives for the primary reason that publicly traded oil companies were restraining production despite high oil prices. The number one answer they gave, reflecting the view of nearly 60% of those surveyed, was that it was, quote, investor pressure to maintain capital discipline. To put it another way, they were saying that they don't want to produce more oil because more production will hasten the end of high oil prices and exorbitant investor profits. Some oil company executives have been even clearer. Just last month, Chevron's chief financial officer confirmed the company's top priority is its dividends, not investing in its business. And BP's CFO made similar comments during his company's first quarter earnings call. So much for BP's advertising campaign that it's investing in green energy. Instead of resuming the production they cut in 2020, oil companies have kept output constrained, turning a 50% increase in prices at the pump over the past year into record-setting profits. And make no mistake, our domestic producers have the capacity to produce more. Indeed, domestic crude oil output is below 2019 levels. That's right. Domestic crude oil output is below 2019 levels, and over 12 million acres of leased federal lands remains untapped. My Republican colleagues are quick to try and weakly blame President Biden and regulation for lagging production. But that's not what the oil executives say. Look back at that Dallas Fed survey I mentioned earlier. Only 6% of the oil executives surveyed said that. Government regulation was the reason they weren't producing more. 60% said it was higher profits. 6% said it was regulation. Now, I understand private companies are going to pursue higher profits. That's business, that's free enterprise, and that's a competitive market. But when Putin and OPEC have outside influence on the market, can we really call it a competitive market? Look, the major oil companies can't control what Putin or OPEC do, but there is no doubt that Putin's war is taking their profits into the stratosphere. And oil company clearly think that this is a great time for more dividends and more buybacks, not more production, lower prices, and giving the American people a break. In fact, just last month, Exxon announced it would triple its stock buybacks this year and next to $30 billion. And $30 billion is an astonishing number. And one of the things about buybacks is that it essentially raises the price of the stock. And if you're an executive whose major compensation is stock options, you're giving yourself a huge raise. And that's part of this, too. It's self-aggrandizement. It's something that does not square, I think, with the feelings of the American people and also the needs of the American people. And it's clear that the oil companies aren't interested in helping Americans on their own. So the federal government needs to step in. We need responsible solutions that bring down prices and help families pay for the basics. We must use every tool at our disposal. I fully support the President's pledge to release 1 million barrels of oil per day from the Strategic Petroleum Reserve to help stabilize volatile prices. One can imagine the price at the pump if the President was not doing this. It would be even further in excess of what is, I think, appropriate. I've introduced the Food and Fuel Family Savings Act, which would provide most households with $600 per person specifically to cover higher gas and groceries costs this year. And my bill would be fully paid for, targeted to those families making under $80,000, and would also ease medium and long-term inflation by crafting a fairer tax code. Instead of waiting for inflation to disappear, it would provide immediate, real help to Americans. I've also joined my colleague, Senator Whitehouse, in introducing legislation to return some of those windfall profits that oil companies are handing out as dividends and buybacks back to consumers. These are important short-term efforts that will help Americans struggling with higher costs. But to truly lower costs in the long term, we must make the transition to clean energy and break our reliance on big oil and hostile foreign actors. I'm proud that in Rhode Island, we're leading the way on offshore wind, a good renewable resource that, when deployed, will lower costs for consumers. The bipartisan infrastructure law is also making key investments to advance this transition, including over $60 billion primarily for new major clean energy demonstration and deployment programs. The President has been calling for additional funding to enable this clean energy future. We need a package that includes tax credits and grants that would make clean energy, clean vehicles, and other clean technologies more affordable and competitive. If we do these things, we'll make ourselves less vulnerable to the whims of oil companies and cartels who depend on Americans paying more than they should. We'll make our world cleaner, we'll lower costs, and finally achieve the energy independence that we've wanted all along. One of the many lessons of the last 2 years is that we cannot rely on oil for plentiful, affordable energy. It is clear that allowing our energy needs to be held hostage by leaders like Vladimir Putin and organizations like OPEC is dangerous. But placing our faith in big oil is equally foolhardy, given their preoccupation with profits over people. As we battle inflation, it is the American people, not executives and wealthy shareholders, who should be the focal point of our energy and economic policy. I urge all of my colleagues to join me in supporting policies that will help families now and in the future.
Yeah, so let me know your thoughts here on what Democratic Senator Jack Reed just said there. I'll show you the details of his stimulus check proposal here and the details and the name of it. These gas and oil companies are gouging us. It's insane how they're making billions and billions of dollars more than they ever have before, and it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. Yeah, and this comes as major outlets are saying that gasoline in the U.S. could average over $5 a gallon here this summer. In California, it's already over that because the tax in California and their different blend of gasoline. But you can see here the national average of gasoline prices here in the U.S. The highest it has ever been ever, $4.56 a gallon. That's the highest price ever. And $5.57 a gallon for diesel. Remember, that affects our food prices and gas prices. You can see here that is the highest prices ever for diesel and unleaded. And this comes as the price of oil, crude, Brent crude and WTI crude are nowhere near their all-time highs. Remember, these peaked at around 135 and 140 in March alone, and we're at 109. We're at $109 a barrel. So why are we seeing all-time high prices of gas when they're still 30%-ish below the all-time highs? Because the gas companies and the oil companies are just gouging us. They're just charging us whatever they want to while they rake in hundreds of billions of dollars of profits combined. It's insane. It's absolutely insane. So here's the bill that was just introduced by Senator Jack Reed, and then we'll talk about the one introduced or the one proposed by the Republican here as well. You can see here Democratic Senator Jack Reed, with inflation at a 40-year high, Food and Fuel Family Savings Act would give millions of Americans a $600 stimulus check usable only for food and gas, which really is fine. I mean, if you needed the money for rent, you could just use this money for food, and then, the normal money you would use for food and gas, you could just, use that money for rent, anyways, right? I mean, everybody needs to really buy food at some point or another, right? So, and this is, I mean, I know that some people might think this is a little low. I know a lot of people want the next stimulus check to be higher. This hasn't passed yet. I mean, this was just introduced. But this is definitely better than nothing. Definitely better than nothing. And we want to see more and more people in Congress saying, we need another stimulus check. We need more money for food. We need more money for SNAP. We need more money for people that are struggling right now, right? So this is definitely something we need to see more people in Congress, in support of, right? So, I mean, I definitely and remember, this is the same amount that the second stimulus check was underneath former President Donald Trump. So, I definitely agree that we could use more, though. The Food and Fuel Family Savings Act would give millions of Americans $600 to be used only for food or gasoline. The amount of the credit would also be reduced for those making above $40,000. So this would be a targeted stimulus check, which is, for people who need it the most. How much above $40,000? We don't know that. So I think it would be $600 per person. So married couples would get $1,200, I believe. So, and children and dependents wouldn't receive the money directly, but those who claim them as dependents would receive an additional $600 for each dependent. So if you have two children, an additional $600 each as well. Uh, Almost exactly like the second stimulus check was. So, mom and dad, 600, 600, two children, 600, 600, almost exactly like the second stimulus check was. Okay. Definitely a lot better than nothing. Definitely a lot better than nothing. Supporters argue the legislation provides much needed relief on two key spending areas as prices surge: food and gas. Hardworking Americans are not at fault for these global price pressures, Senator Reid said on the Senate floor when introducing the bill. Yet these households, which often put a large share of their income towards basic necessities, are being forced to bear the burden of higher costs. The average American household would receive $1,500 based on, two adults, two children, 2.2 people in the average household, something like that, right? Using estimates from economists, this payment should cover the additional $183 the average family will spend each month on food and fuel for the rest of 2022. Senator Reid continues. In other words, our legislation would ensure households can put food on the table and gas in the car this year. Now, remember, we just had a Republican here that recently just said we should send out $1,000 stimulus checks instead of sending money to Ukraine, which, most Republicans are actually for the Ukraine aid. The bill just advanced in the Senate. You could see here this bill in the Senate for the Ukraine aid advanced in the Senate 81 to 11. It still has to go to a final vote. But even the majority of Republicans, including Republican leader Mitch McConnell, support this because Russia's a huge threat to America, and they have threatened us with nukes even. So it's two different matters because supporting Americans at home with inflation and supporting us is really a completely different thing. The amount of money that goes to Ukraine is less than 5% of the budget proposed for the US military for 2023, the new upcoming budget. So it's not like they have to do one or the other. I mean, America has enough money for all this stuff. So remember, they spend the 2023 budget for the military alone is over $800 billion. So it's not like they're trying to skimp on money for this tough type of stuff. The real thing here is that they just have to get enough support to pass any type of bill. So, as always, I will keep you up to date here as we go forward here. But we have Republicans and Democrats that have now come forward and said we need more stimulus checks and more money for people right now in need. So, I will keep you up to date here with everything going forward here on our channel. Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel if you haven't yet. It's completely free to do so. Just click the subscribe button down below and then click the bell icon. Remember, new videos come out here on our YouTube channel at 10 a.m., 3 p.m., and 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can click here to watch my newest video next. And I just did a big stimulus check update with a lot of states that are passing checks here as well, and more updates on federal stimulus checks. So click on one of those videos next. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.